नहीं कर सकते हैं ना? ठीक है, मैं आपको एक नंबर अपना शेयर कर दीजिए ग्रुप में, ठीक है? ग्रुप में एक नंबर शेयर कर रहे हैं अनीता मैडम का, तो जिसका ईमेल आईडी नहीं होता उनको आप मैसेज कर दीजिएगा, तो वो ऐड कर देंगे, फिर आपको रिप्लाई भी कर देंगे, ठीक है? प्लीज़।
ये खुला है, मेरे इसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं। टू लार्ज नहीं, वो बहुत लार्ज है, वो कर दूँगा मैं, PDF कर आपको दे दूँगा।
ठीक है सर, बाद में ले लो सर आप।
वो दोनों का प्रेजेंटेशन कर लेना चाहिए।
नहीं सर, लैपटॉप में ले लो।
सर का प्रेजेंटेशन आ गया है, उनका प्रेजेंटेशन दे दीजिए।
सर इसमें है, सर इसमें है।
ले रखा है ना विजय सर का प्रेजेंटेशन,
हाँ।
और उसके बाद जो दूसरे सर हैं
मैं आई विल सेट इट अप।
सर इसको लगा दीजिए, अभी है ना सर? सर अभी आपका फर्स्ट है।
मेरा फर्स्ट है।
लगा दो सर। स्टार्ट। तो बड़ा है नहीं सर, क्यों नहीं है इसमें?
ये वाला नहीं है, नहीं ये वाला नहीं है, ये रॉन्ग वाला है, इसीलिए आ रहा है। कहाँ गया वो? ये 45 MB है, इसीलिए।
इसमें वीडियो है ना सर?
हाँ, बड़ा वीडियो है, एक बड़ा वीडियो है, इसीलिए प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है।
नहीं सर, हमको वीडियो की जरूरत नहीं सर।
मैं वही PDF दे दूँगा मैं आपको।
वो जल्दी ला के नाम रखिए, बोलो लिस्ट ये रखेगा नेम प्लेट, ये बताओ। Okay, so we will start with our next session, and the theme is use of technology in enforcement and in investigation. So for this, I would like to invite Dr. Vijay Kowali from IIT Delhi. Yes, sir, please. I will also invite sir, please come back here. Before going ahead, I'd like to introduce our today's guest speakers. The first, Dr. Vijay Kowali, sir. He is a professor of practice at Transportation Research and Injury Prevention TRIP Center in IIT Delhi. He was earlier at IBI Group as an associate director. He has over 25 years of experience in transportation engineering with a focus on transport technology, traffic engineering, data analytics, and modeling. Data analytics and modeling. His PhD is from Texas and A&M University. His recent experiences include road safety, adaptive signal systems, multimodal integration, and intelligent transport system for smart cities. Our next speaker will be Sri Deepak Bali, Project Director from LN Malviya Infra Projects Private Limited. He is working as Project Director in LN Malviya. He is 1998 batch pass out from Manit Bhopal in civil engineering. He has also completed his MTech from Manit Bhopal. He has more than 33 years of experience in road safety and highways infrastructure projects. He is an ex-army man and has served army for 20 years. Our next speaker will be Vijay Shankar, sir, Executive Director, Bus and Car Operators Confederation of India. He holds a master's in economics degree and belongs to socio-development field. Worked with Apollo Tyres Foundation as head driver awareness and health program. Works with Basic Group as head of automotive vertical. He is having 20 years of experience in automotive domain. So now I'll request Vijay sir to take over the session. I request to please wind it up till 1:30 so that we can have lunch on time. Thank you, sir.
After 40 minutes, so that sure. 1:30, I don't know. You guys gave us half an hour late, so. This is not good. Okay. As usual, technology problems for technology people always. So, how many of you here are from police? Oh. And how many students? Big factor. I also think some NGOs are here, right? I request you to also raise your hand. Any NGOs? Oh. Thanks. I have a huge presentation. Actually, I have one video that is huge, and I had it opened, everything. Now it's not opening, as to be expected. One of you can go ahead, because I think it will take a little bit of time. आप कर सकते हैं? No challenges? Okay.
शिवा चेक करो
मेरे लैपटॉप्स का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है मेरा. मैं वो कनेक्ट कर दीजिए, वो प्रेजेंट करेंगे तब तक मैं कर रहा हूँ. So that you can.
Yes, okay.
Sorry about that.
ये कहाँ गया सर का? ठीक है, स्टार्ट कर दे.
ये कर देंगे.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the interruption. He'll just get back to you in another half an hour's time. So let me utilize this time and discuss something about the safety aspects pertaining to the transportation and specifically for the road sector. As everybody is aware, the road safety is an important ingredient in our lives, day-to-day activities. Every minute we are involved and we are handling these issues. So before I commence and start this thing, let me ask you, it's a very august gathering here. If anybody can name at least 3 or 4 important aspects, 4 E's what the road safety should have. Anybody among the audience? What are the essentials? What are the 4 important E's? I mean, that's somebody who's dealing with the safety will be able to answer. Any guesses? Anyone for that matter?
Students, Manet students, please speak.
Yeah, who's there from Manet? Please raise your hand. Any guesses? Any one of you? Yeah, please.
Environment, education, enforcement, and emergency response.
Absolutely. See, basically these are the pillars of for the road safety. She is very rightly brought out the engineering aspect for the road, the education for that, the enforcement. Among the E's, this is the biggest E. In capital, I'll put it this way. And then is the evaluation, emergency, medical, and so many aspects further. It can be 5 E's, 6 E's, it can go on and on. So notwithstanding these aspects, let us deliberate on today's aspect, that is the road safety audit. Before going into that, let me give a minute's brief about our company. We in LN Malviya Infra Projects Private Limited, we are the consultants for the road safety projects. Otherwise also, we are handling almost more than 350 projects pan-India with respect to Ministry of Road Transport, National Highway Authority of India, PWDs, and so on. We have a team, inbuilt equipment, as you can see in the slide, which is assisting us in ensuring the analytical part of the safety purpose. So to give a brief, the basic content which I'll be dealing upon is the introduction on the road safety aspect, what it complies, the methodology for the road safety aspect, the stages of road safety, namely the design, construction, operation and maintenance, particularly the night audit. So it's a common knowledge for every one of us that the road safety audit, basically to prevent, to assess, to reduce, to minimize, any number of words I can use for that, is basically it is the formal safety performance examination on any existing or future road or intersection, not by the designer but by an independent agency, so that there is a fair thought, an independent and unbiased thought given. It qualitatively estimates and reports on potential road safety issues and identifies them, and also the opportunities for improvement, what is required. So, in nutshell, it is a formal process conducted by persons who are independent of the design, conducted by person with appropriate qualification, training and experience, which is most important. An assessment of road safety issues in a design, a traffic management for the road works, a newly completed road scheme, or it can be identify of safety concern on any existing road. Today I have been traveling, I saw few odd incidents. Yesterday I was traveling, there was few odd incidents. Somebody in the audience, prior to this session, made a mention that we are comparing with foreign countries. See, it is basically the analytical data which should be available. If it is assessed, processed, and then if we are able to derive things out of it, it will be good. What elements of the road may present a safety concern? That is most important. Every stretch has got a different connotation, different template. We need to independently assess that stretch with respect to the users, with respect to the environment around it. What may be the concerns of one stretch may not be the concerns of the other. To what extent they are making an impact, and under what circumstances they are giving us. What opportunities exist to eliminate or to mitigate identified safety concerns? That is obviously a step which follows with it once we are able to identify these issues. So there obviously for such like things there has to be a methodology. 7 steps we have identified. The first one is the mobilization of the project team, the qualified team and the experienced team who are into these aspects. Select the project site. Thereafter is the data collection. As per the feasibility report, the DPRs which are there available with the client. Review design and drawings and contract agreements. What was there? What was the concept? What design has come up, finally approved? And what has been the agreemented thing? Basically to understand that these things have been enforced, they are being followed or they are not being followed. Site inspection, constructability review, check as per design, whether the engineering, I will not get into the details of the engineering aspect, keeping in view the audience, very few are technical. So, as a layman, the engineering has been followed, the codal provisions are in place, the manuals have been properly adhered, or there are omissions to the engineering part. Positioning of signboards, the signages, intersection provisions, etc. There is a built-up area, there is no openings given. The people are jumping the medians. There are so many aspects which come up like this when you visit the site. Assessment and analysis, including accident data. The data to some extent will give you the correct picture, but since we are from the police background, possibly you'll be able to tell us how many cases are registered and the exact reason for the registration. Generally it is mentioned it's overspeeding. Generally it is mentioned it is drunken driving. There could be so many other reasons as well. Preparation of audit report including black spot analysis. Black spots are those, just to give you an insight, those are those places where the manuals and things possibly would have been violated, and the accidents are a regular feature there. So when we analyze these reports which are there on record with the various enforcing agencies for traffic management, we'll be able to come to the conclusion that these are the clear locations which are the black spots, and we need to take corrective actions on these spots. Preparation and submission of these reports with suggestions and safety measures. The thing doesn't end here. These are few odd steps we have highlighted. But thereafter is the implementation, enforcement, education, and the evaluation of what has happened thereafter. So those E's, gentlemen, they will be there at every stage. Particularly talking of the audit part, you have the audits are essential during the planning stage, during the detailed design stage. Say, when I say the planning stage means when the road planning, the aspects of upgradation and the planning part is in process, what are the problems in the existing stretch? Those have to be highlighted and the audit is with referral to that. When you are designing and taking corrective actions from the engineering perspective, that comes during the detailed design stage. Whether they are getting implemented, again the audit has to be done during the construction stage, whether we are fulfilling the requirements as laid down in the manuals or not. And the executing agency is abiding by that. Before the commencement, the commercial operations, the pre-opening stage, and subsequently, once the traffic is on and the commercial activities are on a particular stretch, the audit of the existing roads. As I had mentioned, there have been site visits and certain examples, we have case studies have been done. So I'll request Vijay, please come over.
Thank you, sir. So we have the site visit on that project is 4-laning balance work of Mubarakpur Bhopal to Biara section, NH12. So we have done this site visit on the design stage, existing road stage, and also there is construction stage and night audit. So we have the Malvi team and with Manit team, we have done this audit, and we brief about these points. So firstly, go on the design stage. This is the basically audit in which we find out the major concern. We have find out the stretch and identified some location. On the basis of location, we prepare the design audit on office. And after that, the design audit, we prepare some observation. After that, the suggestion will be done. So in this picture, you say that the minor intersection at kilometer 329, the observation is made basically the lack of pedestrian facility. There is no pedestrian facility is there and no indication of pedestrian guardrail. And the other deficiency is about the road marking. So we did not find out the road marking in this particular diagram, and signage is also not provided. So suggestion is basically on the basis of our design review, we provide the pedestrian facility as per ISC 103, signboard as per IRC 65, and road marking as IRC 35. Second, we go on the vehicle VUP pass that at Channel 350-983. Basically, there is span is 2 by 12 meter. Is a new construction is, and we found out that the sharp radius at cross road approaches, and also improper pedestrian crossing is there, and also discontinuity is there, and also there is the blue point is lack, red point is a lack of side distance at bend. This point is there. So we provided the signage has to be provided as per 84. We have proposed in VUP. This is already given in 9.3 figure. The lighting has been done as per night visibility from there, and also the road stud to be provided as per 84. Road stud for guiding and for avoiding overtracking and like this, and also the speed control measure is important. Because basically the accident purpose is basically for over speeding. So with help of the speed calming measure like TBM, transfer bar marking, and signage and signal, we have to control this speed calming factors. Next one is the major intersection at kilometer 365. In this observation, basically there is a village road is merging on this section. So we found that there is no traffic calming measure in this section, and also there is no de-acceleration lane. So we propose that we have to find out the de-acceleration lane so the speed can be reduced, that merging on the main section. That is because the accident is from village road is due to over speeding. And if we cover this traffic calming measure, it can be safe of our project. And also stop road marking, signage not provided. We have to provide this keep left sign, existing U-turn. Road furniture is basically the funda of the safety. So we have to provide this all accessory documents regarding this. Pedestrian crosswalk signage is missing, improper lane marking, improper junction profile. So suggestion is very simple. We have traffic calming measures, advanced signing, speed hump for side road, for speed control, and the TBM marking we already mentioned. So we have 6 set of the marking about 5 mm to 50 mm. Depend on the speed control, we use the set of the TBM marking. Signboard is also given as per safety provision for man carriageway. Storage lane, they already mentioned. With storage lane, we should provide it for turning traffic, because if you if vehicle provide want to turn U-turn, so it provides the accelerator lane and proper lane for traffic movement. So this is the requirement, and also the proper lighting arrangement and pedestrian road marking, and also the solar blinker. Solar blinker is provided due to night safety. Night it can be visible easily. Then again, we this is the road furniture plan. We have checked 351 to 53 kilometer. Basically, the problem is that this is the direct chevron sign we have provided. This is checked that, and chevron side needs basically for that curve portion. So it gives the direction to road user for along the movement of the roads. And signboard install in the bus house. This is already mentioned prior to bus stop, and information board at before 351, that is like this. So we have mentioned in 351 कि we have to provide the information board and signing before the this bus stop. This is our suggestion. Next suggestion is that this is the direction of sign, chevron sign from left LHS side, but RSS side is it just opposite. So we plan this change of this section. And also that the other stage is typical cross section we have measured. In this, there is the median width should be provided in typical cross section. So we have to check, and also the PVC seat details shown. So we prevented these points, and also the countermeasure have done. Also, there is a drainage given, the cover drain. So we found out that there is no detailed drawing is given. So we proposed for detailed drawing of this, and also the PVC seat detail. So next we go on the next project, the Mubarak to Beara 4-lane road project. Yeah, definitely. Just finished. So this is the operation and maintenance part. So basically we have done taken the pictures. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So basically there is a damaged median, no hazard marker, no median gap between signboard, no strut. So we have to find out this, we have to recommend for curb stone and install hazard marker for their side, and install median gap indication is not there. So we have put on the median part, and also install strut along the longitudinal spacing. And this is the second picture. This is damaged signboard is there and improper placing. So we have to correct this as per codal provision. Next, there is a median opening. So unprotected median opening is there. We have to check this. Also, there is a grade separator portion is there. So there is no proper design of this. So we have provided this opening. Also, we have to provide accelerator and deaccelerator for U-turn movement. This is our criteria. And also there is a material erode in this section. It should be avoided. It should be dented side, so it will be protected. The next is the visibility portion at median opening. So this is the term that, so we have to protect this, the gore area like prismatic seat, and also the encroachment side is there. So encroachment should be closed in this manner. And also we see that road user encroachment is there by a street vendor. It should be oftenly closed. Next, the informatory signboard is there. This is improper hazard marker. It should be prevented. And also there is the accelerator lane and gore area could be protected by a prismatic sheet, aluminum sheet. And this area informative board, the turning road causes confusion. So this should be proper implant. Electric line portion is there, passing VOP, unnecessary broken stone is there, we have find out, and also the merging point is not proper service road, so we have to provide proper sign signal for this movement. And this is the electric portion is there, so we have to prevent this, and also this is the stone portion is there, so we have to avoid this type of structure. This is the minor Y section is there. So in this we have to prevent it with this blower area with proper stud and hazard marker proper is there. And also this chevron side should be maintained properly. And this is the improper rumble strip, so it should be maintained as per the codal provision.
I think Vijay, I think
Yeah.
time is
Okay,
running
okay,
short
yeah,
for
yeah,
them.
definitely.
Gentlemen, we'll close it here.
And other is encroachment is there, we have to prevent it. The broken top cover of drain, we have already checked in this and several steps, which can be prevented.
Thank you, Vijay.
Okay.
Just before we wind up, the discussion today is not limited to these aspects. The safety is a very huge, aspect which we need to understand, which we need to enforce. We have accidents of, if you can recollect Cyrus Mistry, he met with an accident. A few days back, Rishabh Pant also met with an accident. So if we have these audits in place, we'll be able to minimize, we'll be able to reduce the numbers and also the severity of the accidents. The importance of these audits are very, very, we need to understand this aspect. So I only hope that today when we move out, we should be wise enough to understand the importance of these audits, and if we have an opportunity, we should enforce it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Vijay, you can work. So we don't have to change the laptop in the middle.
It's not working, sir.
Mine won't work.
इसी को कनेक्ट कर देते हैं सर, ये चल रहा है इसमें.
नहीं, पहले चल रहा था actually since it's a big time. They changed something.
Good afternoon, all of you. Myself Vijay, and I am from BOKI, Bus and Car Operators Confederation of India. It was formed in February 4, 2016. And we have more than 20,000 members across the country. These all are operators, and we have more than 15 lakhs buses plying on roads. So, many people have discussed about the problems on road, and we have the experience-based knowledge about the road safety, which we are facing in our day-to-day operations on road. So, we propose why the system has created like a transport vehicle can run on the highway, and they have been given, you cannot go beyond 80 kilometers per hour, but a private car operators and private operators can run their bus and cars more than that. Our drivers are more trained and more experienced than the personal car operators. The two-wheeler operators, they attribute around 50% of the road accident across the country. And all the OEMs are selling their vehicles saying that my new version has got this much acceleration and a speed. They lead the accidents. The new the new operators of the vehicles, they try to run their vehicle to the last speed of the mentioned speed in the vehicle. Whenever we come across the gully and muhallas, why this is? They are not running the stunt bike. if they come to the highway, they met with an accident. The big vehicle cannot control the time when they're entering onto the highways. Sometimes this, if any of the villages are within the or adjoining to the highway, sometimes the Mukhiya and Sarpanch, they remove the barricades and they allow their villagers to entering onto the highways. On the highway, our buses are they are big bus. They are in a speed. They cannot control if the villagers coming on the highway. Sometimes they are driving wrong towards wrong sides. Sometimes we found the hawkers are on the road. They are selling their products. These all the hawkers and these kind of practices attributing and adding the ratio of accident on the Indian roads. So we propose if the insurance company could create a system where they can give the incentive to the Sarpanch and Mukhiya who are securing the barricades are intact on the road. Their villagers are not breaking the barricades. This will save the lot of money of the insurance company because after the day they have to pay the insurance. This is a big amount. And also the drivers are facing lot of problem on roads. They are abused, they are beaten, they are looted, they are fined. Sometime without any their wrong doing. So these are the problems we are facing across the country, and we are advocating the high speed roadways since the Gadkari is saying we have to reach Delhi to Mumbai in 12 hours. So we will have to increase the speeds. So safety, if we have the big vehicles, we have more safety measures there. So if the vehicles has more safety features, given relaxation in speed and everything. Thank you.
So the sin of losing out is now I'm between you and your lunch. I'll make sure that I do my best in not creating challenges. So I'm going to talk about signal systems, but more about traffic engineering. Okay, so I have a lot of presentations. One is specific to traffic safety and ITS, but I was planning something because all the police are here, and one of the biggest challenges we have is we all don't talk the same language. Okay, so if you have seen the people who presented today, with each of them as an expert, I don't agree with them. Okay, on various things. And that has been a big challenge for all of us, okay? And they don't agree with me. It's not like I don't agree with them, it doesn't mean. And somewhere we need to come to the same language and for us, and that's why the IRC standards, we are big fans of it. While we don't agree with everything in IRC, we are getting there. IRC is like, for instance, whatever they have presented is IRC SP88, right? So now we have a standard and we want all of us to follow the standard, and we can improve the standard rather than use our own perceptions and our own beliefs into the system. Okay. Actually, चार्ज बहुत है but यहाँ चार्ज है दूसरा वाला okay perfect. Hopefully we'll get there. I just want you to look at this video for a little while because everything that we are going to talk about is some level traffic. So this is actual traffic data, and very often you will see this speeded up and shown to you, where we say, oh, India is so great, all these people are going without eating each other. The reason they are able to go through is because the speeds are so slow, right? But I want you to take a good look at it because there are multiple things I want to talk about based on this. At some point, this is a drone video, and that's where technology can be really helpful to all of us, where we can look at some of these things. And since so many police are here, and I am also excited about the presentations this afternoon, where you are looking at accidents and safety, we need better data. Most of the time, we are not agreeing on things because we don't have data to support us. And when you talk about international versus India, and when we take the international experience and show it in India, the main reason is, again, we don't have data. Wherever we have data, we would prefer to show it in India. Okay. When we started on various projects, TOD and other things, earlier we used to talk about international world, and now we don't talk about it. The second you have Indian data, we can talk about India. But I also want you to realize that international is not that different. Okay. So they are also human beings. They also have similar problems. Cars have similar vehicles. So it's a psychophysical model, we call it. Psychology is the human psychology, and the physical is the physical environment, the car environment, everything. So it is not that crazy different that we cannot talk about it. But I used to live in Bangalore. I went to Delhi. When I talked to the Delhi IAS officer, he says that, oh, you're from Bangalore, it's very different. Okay. So there's no end to it. If you want to say that something is different, you can always say it's different. But it's not that different, I want you to be clear. But there are places where they are different, and that's important that we understand. So I'll start with the definition of traffic engineering. I'm a traffic engineer first and foremost. Then I work in transport technology and all that. So my PhD is in traffic signal systems from Texas A&M. It's a branch of civil engineering that uses engineering techniques to achieve the safe and efficient movement of people and goods. And whenever we talk, and I'm sure some other person also will talk, transportation is about people and goods. It is not about vehicles. We are traveling people and goods. And it's very difficult, as if I am the police also, and it's a very thankless job, and thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. It's very easy to get into the vehicles because the pressure is on the vehicles, right? The people who make matter, who talk loudly, everything is in the vehicles. But once we are talking about transportation engineering, traffic engineering, and all of you when you're working in the field is traffic engineers are doing it. You must have heard of ChatGPT, the AI program. So I thought, what will it say? And it gave a really nice definition of the same thing. I won't take time because I am between your lunch. So I want to say a few things. Whenever I'm talking about, I want to give the disclaimer. This video is not working, but essentially in this, Akshay Kumar eats away all the bullets, catches them and eats away. This is not what I'm talking about, okay? If somebody is capable of doing it, we are not talking about that. We are talking about actual engineering issues. We are talking about physics, laws of physics and all that, okay? So the most important thing I want to talk about, and the first principle of traffic engineering is user expectancy. If I have two people at the same thing, doing the same thing, are they expecting that, right? And this is something I want you to focus on, especially the police, doing that. If two people are coming and when they're fighting with each other, who is right, right? Both of them think they are right most of the time, okay? How do we make sure that there's a clear clarity that who is right? And that is user expectancy, okay? Expectancy relates to the driver readiness to respond to situation, right? So if you're creating all the signages, the safety audit that we talk about, all that is to create that readiness so that you are able to respond to the situation in the same way. Everybody does the same things over and over again, right? Here we want discipline. We keep talking about discipline, and discipline comes from this process, okay? It influences the speed and accuracy of information. So if you take a long time, you suppose there is a new kind of, and we see a lot of police decide that, oh, I want to do something exciting, innovative and all that. Problem is that somebody from outside might not understand it. In Vijayawada, we saw this one with a blue signal light, okay? So it had a blue signal, like the signal light is not red, amber and green. It is like blue, some other color and some other color. And people say, oh, it's more visible, people will pay attention. The reality is I'm confused. I don't know for sure what I'm supposed to do. Is this supposed to mean something or not? The same thing with the blinking green arrow, right? In some places, it is the same as an amber, right? It is going off. In some places, it is something else. So we need to create the standards, and we need to create at the IRC level, not at the individual level, but at the Indian Road Congress level, so that for a national level, wherever I go in the country, it's the same definition. So when the police catch me, I know that I am at fault, right? And there are two types of expecting. A priority, that means before itself I know, and then ad hoc, right? At that time, I see it all of a sudden, glance legibility, like you see a sign for a millisecond, but because it's a stop sign, you know what are you supposed to do. If I have a signal and I have a stop sign at the same place, if the signal is green and the stop sign is there, what am I supposed to do? I am very confused about that. Okay? And I see this all over the country, in various places, once in a while. And that is the part that we should not be doing, because at that point people interpret it differently and each person might do differently, and that's where accidents happen, right? Crashes happen. So the second you put some of these things, again, people have been telling, again I want to report, accident is an unpredictable event. That means that God has intervened somehow. Crashes are predictable events. And all the world over, people are using the word crash rather than accident because most of the things we can predict. Like if I go there, can it happen tomorrow? I don't know. But in the next 20 years, at one point, if accident happens, I know this is because of this reason, right? And that's where the audits come into picture. And it's all come down to basics of same thing. Whenever we talk about accidents, traffic engineering, everything comes down to very simple things. It is perception and reaction time. So you can always put it down into basic physics. How long does it take me to pursue that injury problem? And how long does it take me to react to it, right? So perception is when you're talking about it and you say that, okay, if you're on your mobile phone, right? When you're driving and you're using a mobile phone, you are not even perceiving the danger, right? So it takes a while to perceive. But in general, your perception time is about 0.7 seconds to 1 second, okay? The reaction time is the one that matters, right? So you're reacting to the danger, and in the reaction time, and again, it is coming to less than 2 seconds most of the time. But when you're reacting at a very high speed, it takes you longer to stop, right? It doesn't take the same distance to stop. And these are things that come into picture. But finally, the formulas, especially for student, come down to the same thing. What we studied in 9th grade or something, and nowadays kids are studying in 5th grade, is S is equal to UT plus half it square, V square minus U square is equal to 2AS, and V is equal to U plus AT, right? These are all the stopping side distance and everything that we talk about. And somewhere you got to think in these terms and you think in terms of gaps, right? Why are we doing anything? If there is enough gaps, we don't have to do anything, right? Because there are not enough gaps and there are certain situations where gaps don't exist, that's where we are trying to do something. And because crashes are not, it's a complex subject. Please do remember that this is not a simple subject. The reason all of us are in this room is it's a complex subject, various parameters come into picture. The same thing, there is a nominal safety and a substantive safety. In the nominal safety, if you say I didn't put a crash barrier, I know so many people will die. The reality is substantive safety, that many people might not die or a lot more people might die, right? So those are things that we need to know, okay? So these are the various reaction times. Again, intersection side distance. This is something that we can do a lot better. I see multiple places where we put trees near the intersection. Reduces, right? Medians, we put trees, right? All these things, trees are wonderful, but please remember that trees are not equal to human life, okay? I once asked my son when he was 11 years old, how many trees will you cut for a human life? And he said 11 trees, okay? And I don't know why he got 11, right? Then I asked him again, okay, how many trees will you cut for my life? Okay. And at that point, he doesn't have an answer. Most of us don't have an answer when we talk about our loved ones, right? So you need to somewhere personalize it. If you're not personalizing it, yeah, it's difficult. The cost of life in India is not that much. That's the reason some of the things are happening, right? But please do remember, sight distance is a very critical item. So especially since we don't have stop signs and stuff where we stop, look for something and go, then we need to provide as much sight distance so that they're able to perceive a danger. And very often this will be attributed to somebody coming from the crossroad at high speeds. That is a fact, right? But why are they not able to see the person who's coming at high speeds? Because the sight distance doesn't exist. And very often we can't even provide the sight distance. That's where we do traffic calming, right? So that is where how the process goes. Stopping and overtaking sight distance. Again, you guys know the concepts. Again, the same formulas that goes into it. The one I want to focus on is the right-of-way rules, okay? So again, another video, not from a drone, from a CCTV camera. Just take a look at it again, and I want to ask you a set of questions, okay? This, I want interaction. Between these vehicles, 1 and 2, which has the right? 2 has the right?
Yes, 2 has the right.
Anybody else? 1? Okay, can everybody who thinks 1, can you lift your hand? Can somebody take a photo of this, please? Actually, let me take a photo of it. The reason is, this is what I'm talking about in terms of user expectancy and all that, right? Now, how are things, it's 2 is more, can you please raise your hand? Okay, people who thought it's 1 of you, can you tell me why? It's going in the side direction. Okay, people who thought it's 2?
Because 2 is the major road. Seems to be the major road, the width of the road is more.
Okay.
So probably the major road which is there needs to negotiate the right turning movement.
Okay, same thing?
Yeah, same, and vehicle from the right has a priority.
Vehicle from the right has a priority. Okay, that's interesting thing. Okay. Okay, in the second scenario. Okay, how many people, who has the priority? Okay, one thing I want to establish is, let's talk about the 2 is and 3 are on the major road, okay? Let's establish that so that we don't have any confusion. Now, between 2 and 3, who has the priority? 3 has the priority. Why? Anybody says 2? Not a single person. I'm impressed. I thought somebody will say car has higher priority than a scooter. Okay. What about this scenario? There's no of course about it, unfortunately, in India. Anybody thinks that 2 has a higher priority? Okay, people who are on the road, especially who stayed on the road like I have, how many people see that 1 has a higher priority and 2 actually gives way to 1?
1 is irrelevant in India.
1 is irrelevant in India. Anybody else agree with that?
Yes, they do not command respect on road, but pedestrians do not command respect on road because of several reasons. And that is why the vehicle do believe that the turning vehicle will have greater priority. That is what the
So, question for you, okay, especially since the police, so many are there. Yeah, please go ahead. Vehicle driver knows everything. Okay. Huh. Okay, that's an interesting point. Can you please? Hmm. May hit. Okay. Anybody else agree with that? In the place signal is there, it is correct.
Green signal is correct. Left and straight is on signal Y green.
Ah.
That is correct.
Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about, okay? At this point of time, in the Indian context, in US, I can tell you, in scenario 1, 2 is number 1 priority, okay? In scenario number 2, 3 has the first priority. And in this, 1 has the priority. There's no questions, okay? Everybody who has been in other countries would absolutely say that this is correct, okay? In Indian context, we still are not, we are talking about basics, okay? When we're talking about technologies and other things, we're talking about basics where we are not agreeing on things. So at some point, we need to start agreeing on these things and say that, okay? And the reason is, even though if you have, one is you cannot have a green arrow for left turn, okay? You should not have a green arrow for left turn, especially if you're saying pedestrians can move. Otherwise, provide a separate timing for pedestrians. Pedestrians are not ghosts that they can walk through when the buses, vehicles are going. And if you're talking about, and one of the interesting things I read the other day is, where do we go for a vacation? We go for a vacation where we can walk, okay? You talk about Goa or some of these places that we want to go to. Almost every place that I can think of, I want to go for a vacation. More often than not, I'm thinking I can walk. And so we need to start thinking about it. And we have a huge percentage of people who walk in our cities, right? But there are conditions, right? There are always not A and B. It's not black and white. There are conditions. But please do remember this. And this is the standard that is followed world over. If you go to another country, it's always the major road has higher priority, the throughs has the first priority, the left turns has the second priority, and then the third one is the right turn. So usually the through and the right turn, left turn go together, okay? 1 and 2 go together at the same priority because they don't conflict, right? The conflicts also matter. But this is the standard in terms of international, anywhere in the world if you go to, this is the standard. And always the pedestrian, except if there is a clear signal for the left turn, the pedestrian has the higher priority, okay? And if we can agree on that, we can move forward, right? As long as we don't agree or if we don't have a standard, it's very difficult for us to, because each person thinks differently. And especially if a IAS or IPS officer says that no, the pedestrian should have lower priority, it's very difficult for any technocrat to argue. And we are technocrats, right? We are technical people. It's a policy decision, okay? And why is it important, especially when I'm talking about adaptive signal systems and all those, is when I'm going through this intersection and I have this, one of the major requirements I have, if I have an advanced signal system, is that I need to have a vehicle that is coming from here. I want them to go through the second signal, right? That's the basic synchronization. People say, I want to do synchronized signals, progression, all the words that we use. But for me to go through this speed has to be constant. If they keep on changing their speed, I cannot guess here when they will come, right? For this speed to be constant, these guys have to have higher priority than somebody who's coming from this side, okay? Otherwise, we cannot make signal systems, advanced signal systems really work, okay? And I said there are conditions, right? The conditions are basically road hierarchy. There are places where pedestrians are the highest priority, and in any urban road, any urban facility, if we don't make pedestrians higher priority, they all move to vehicles, right? Even from any perspective. So we know people that who basically, because they're so scared of walking, like I don't let my kids cross the road generally. Okay, now they're 15 years old, they finally are crossing the road. And this is a 4-lane road, this is not a big road. But there's so many roads, and what does this mean? That they are traveling by other private vehicles, and the more private vehicles are there, it's next to impossible for it to. You all know that per lane there's only so much capacity, right? There's about 1,000 to 1,500 vehicles that can go in one lane in 1 hour at the most. Okay, so and we are at a percentage of about less than 100 people per 1,000 who have vehicles, okay, in the country. And this cannot be that, right? When you look at the Western world, they have 500 vehicles per 1,000 people. Like in London, it's 550 vehicles per 1,000 people. In some other places, it's 900 vehicles per 1,000 people. So we are at a very slow range, and at this point, we have so much congestion. So if you have to take care of densities, 1.4 billion people, or even if you talk about a Bhopal level and at a regular, like one CBD area or one small area, you can think about if all these people have vehicles for that density, 16,000 people per hectare. If all of them have vehicles, and most of our cities are 40,000 people for that square kilometer or so, we cannot really, we need to build 16-lane roads and still have congestion because there's a bottleneck somewhere. Okay? That's our reality. So even if you want to build, it's practically not possible as a engineering solution to build it. Okay? So we need to look at how do we create this hierarchy very clearly and make it work. So we do have to have expressways and other things, right? Even urban expressways. And then we have major arterials. Their mobility is slightly more priority than people, right? But the second you get to this level, people have to be a lot higher priority. Even in arterials, quite often in cities like Bhopal and stuff, if you don't make pedestrians higher priority, we are going to kill people. Okay, that's our reality, and we need to figure out is safety higher priority or mobility higher priority. Okay, and desire lines. Okay, one of the ways we control our pedestrians is because they don't have a voice. The exact point is they don't have a voice. We are saying that, let's put them in pig pens. These are called pig pens, cattle pens, right? Cattle, you put it in a pen and say, Isaac, walk like that and come back. And that's how we treat our pedestrians. It doesn't work, unfortunately, anywhere in the world, okay? Not just us. Because pedestrians, we are basically, cyclists and pedestrians, the engine is us, right? While two-wheelers and others, there's a separate engine, so you can go longer and you can ask car to go 10 kilometers and come back, the guy is not spending any effort, okay? A pedestrian, if you ask them to go up a flyover or something, essentially your every one step horizontal is equal to, or vertical is equal to 15 steps horizontal, okay? That's the extra amount of time you're saying, and elderly people can't do it, people with knee problems don't do it. I'm sure anybody above 50, most of us have knee problems. So we are all not comfortable, and we'll try to do stupid things like this, okay? Of course, I can't do this also, okay? And we did talk about the 4 E's, 5 E's, 6 E's and all that. I want to focus on the 3 E's, okay? Because here I'm talking about traffic engineering and education, engineering, enforcement. Very, very often in Indian context, what you see is we keep doing engineering to take care of enforcement, okay? That's where we have this 1 foot high footpath and other things. And the reasons are always same, right? Because two-wheeler will go on the footpath, let me make it high. Unfortunately, the pedestrian also doesn't want to go up and down because we are not Olympic hurdle jumpers. So pedestrians also walk on the road where there's a nice footpath that is 1 feet high, right? So these are challenges, and that's where we need to have, each of us need to take up, when we talk about, and Professor Geetan Tiwari must have spoken to you about safe systems approach and all that, hopefully. Safe systems approach is, each of us are managers of certain area. We need to take care of our area, so we need to say that, okay, enforcement is my area, these are things I will take care of it, right? And that can be defined differently, okay? It can be at a policy level, you can say that, oh no, I don't want to do this, because it's not easy, okay? It's not at all easy in the Indian context at this point of time. But if you don't put the effort, we won't get there even in 5 years or 10 years. And our target should be 5 to 10 years. We cannot talk about today. We cannot fix anything today, okay? And one of the important things is defined junctions. One of the biggest problems we have is junctions like this, which are not defined, so people end up parking, the volumes are not too, and people, like anytime you don't have a nice junction, people think they can violate, okay? Violations happen, so if you have lane markings, if you have nice, even we put markings through the intersection, we are trying to discipline, right? We talk about discipline. From engineering perspective, what can you do? You can create nice intersections that are well defined. So everybody, like the tactical urbanism, we keep talking about it. The reason we are doing it is we can get the same capacity, okay? What you see here and what you see here, you probably will get higher capacity in this scenario. And that is where we want data, right? If you are able to figure out, and almost all the studies show that you have higher capacity in disciplined traffic rather than here, because what we create is something in traffic engineering called shock waves. So when you are at a road, just think about, are people braking, okay? Look at when you go, and some of you must have gone outside the country. Once you get a signal, I don't brake, okay? I'm accelerating and going through, okay? In India, I'm braking and going through, okay? Right? Because I'm always. That accelerating and smoothing, one is from a climate change perspective also it makes sense, but if I am able to, so from a very basic layman perspective, I request that just say that how many times am I braking when I go through a signal, okay, right? And that will give you an idea in terms of what can I change, right? What are the things that is making me brake? What can I do differently? And what I also see is when you have long cycle lengths, right? And I'll talk a little bit about cycle lengths, hopefully we'll have time. But if you have long time when you take it, people tend to get into all nooks and crannies, right? The reason is we have two-wheelers, which have a very different behavior than cars. So in modeling, when we talk about it, we have something called a car following model. In car following model, one vehicle follows the other, and there are some characteristics that they uses. But once a two-wheeler comes into picture, especially in a stop situation, they'll get into all these nooks and crannies, and it takes a while for it to resolve itself, okay? But if you are able to keep them straight, is it better, right? Finally, it comes down to capacity, it comes down to safety, okay? But if you say that, no, this is better, fine, okay? We don't have to do everything that Western world does, but we need to figure out for ourselves what works and what doesn't work. The other beautiful thing about signals is metering, okay? I'm not sure, unfortunately, police across the world, not just in India, don't like signals all that much. But the reality is, having this metering basically ensures that I have gaps downstream. So if you have seen, when you create a flyover, the signal after that becomes a huge problem. Okay? If anybody is here from Bangalore, you can like look at the places wherever there's a signal-free corridor, some intersections next to it become the biggest challenge. Okay? Because all of a sudden that I could have controlled, like I can control about say 500 vehicles per in a cycle, like about 15, 20 vehicles per cycle. Okay? So in one green, I can make about 100 vehicles go through. I cannot make 500 vehicles go through. Nobody can make that. So if you are not having anything on the way, you are not metering them, all these 500 vehicles or 1,000 vehicles are coming all of a sudden in 1 minute period to that location that you could control at different points, okay? And ideally you would want to control, because especially in urban area, this doesn't help because even pedestrians cross during that time, everything happens. So from a safety perspective also, having more signals in cities is a better idea. And flyovers are not really a hierarchy, road hierarchy. They are messing up the road hierarchy. Now they are neither arterial nor are they a freeway, right? So if you have a completely limited access road, it's a very good idea, okay? If you are able to control it and other things, from my perspective, okay? There are others who will say that is also not a good idea. So that is something we can argue. But in the bigger picture, when we talk about it and stuff like that, pedestrian, all signals create metering, okay? Please remember that. When you are having this problem, can I put a signal upstream so that I can make it, not so many vehicles come here and I can control it better, okay? Attention cone, the faster you go, the lower the attention cone, so you have more accidents. So you don't want 60 kilometers per hour in a arterial road, because at that point you're not able to see them and pedestrians will come, okay? If you can confidently say pedestrians won't come, that's a different issue, okay? And the other thing is you will improve, like you'll get an engineer, he will do signal optimization and you'll say again the same problems. The reason is whenever signals improve, and especially on corridors, more people come into the road saying that, oh, that road has become nicer, right? You would have seen that even in where you create nice roads and stuff like that. Initially, they're below capacity. After some time, they go above capacity, because this is induced demand. People get into places where it is there. And it's the same thing with building also, right? What we have seen is when people took away whole freeways, nothing happened on the congestion for the whole city, okay? This is a proof, and it will happen in India too. It's nothing to do with international. It's happening in India too. Okay? And this is generated traffic that happens, extra generated traffic that comes, so because of which you again have congestion. So you need to keep on improving. It's not a one-time improvement and say forget it. Okay. Blockage and spillback, this is the other concept I want to focus a little bit. I will go all the way till here somewhere. Okay. So what I want you to see here is, this is how vehicles go, right? Whenever you have two closely spaced intersections, so cannot figure out what. So there is one intersection here and there is another intersection here, right? And what you are seeing is these vehicles are building up all the way to the end. Yeah. Now you get a green, and these vehicles are going through, right? This is called basically blockage. If these vehicles get into the previous intersection, it's called spillback. And you can see there's a green and no vehicles can go through. This is starvation. This is one of the worst things you can do to any signal, okay? A green where no vehicles are going through is the worst, right? So that is where we create, like, the best way to do these things is very short cycle lengths. Like you have 60-second cycle lengths, 80 seconds, like the smaller it is, and then you go through. Okay. Now I'll come to traffic control. What's the time now? Okay. This one? Okay.
What's the reason you told telling for this blockage?
Blockage happens in any closely spaced intersection if the timings are, like, if suppose this green is long, right? The other green is long. Two spaces are intersection. So there are ways of optimizing them. There is software that optimizes it. Okay. And what I want you to understand is this is a blockage when intersection, and here you can see that all the vehicles are stopped, right? They are keeping the intersection clear, so others are able to travel, especially. But in India, we don't do that, but that is something where the police can really work on, right? We need to, and these are not really police work. This has to come from standards, learner's permit at that level, okay? This is not really, but this is where you can gauge saying that, hey, what can I do if suppose this gets blocked? So the capacity. So here, what we look for is throughput. Throughput is the total number of vehicles in 1 hour. One of the requests I have, very often police look at per cycle. So they are looking through the intersection and say, oh, in this cycle, I'm clearing everybody I can see. And quite often, you might be less efficient if you do that. If you got to look at 1 hour all volumes, only then you'll know that are you being efficient in allocating time between all of them. Okay. So I'm coming to traffic control. Purpose is to right of way, assigning right of way, saying that who has the priority. Okay. So that is what it is. Objective is to regulate, guide, warn, or challenge traffic. And signal signs and markings, right? And very often we are looking at signs and markings to do some of these things now because they are low cost. So even when you look at the safety audits and stuff, most of the recommendations are on that. Okay. And just a couple of things I want to, the rest you can read. Two things that are important is you need to command the respect of the user. Okay. And this is at a general level, right? We need to command. So what are those signs and symbols? How do we command respect? Without enforcement, no education works. Okay. If you're thinking that I told him, why does he not listen? Even I don't listen. Okay, I know everything and I do stupid things, right? And we all do stupid things sometime in our life. So as a human being, we are not completely oriented towards it. Some fear has to be there, and that fear need not be specific fear. It need not be that. This could be a general fear because somebody else got a ticket. So if when you're giving tickets, we request that you give tickets in front of others so that other people realize it. Okay, you delay everybody a little bit one day, so that everybody realizes, oh, okay, there is a problem, so they will follow rules, okay? And that's one of the things. Conflicts, again, they're merging, diverging, and crossing conflicts. I just want to do, so a lot of people love roundabouts. Again, roundabouts requires that you follow rules, okay? If you don't follow rules, they become more of a congestion point than it. But as you can see, the number of conflict points, especially from a safety perspective, roundabouts are better. There are places it becomes challenging, so you need to understand the positives and negatives of everything when you do it. For instance, in a roundabout, I am always looking towards the right, when I am turning. But if a pedestrian or a cyclist is coming from the other side, I am not even looking at them, so there are more accidents possible in roundabouts, okay? It doesn't mean you should not do roundabouts, but you should know the challenges and how do you look at it, okay?
Sir, in this context, the roundabout context, because you just mentioned that cyclists or pedestrians coming from the other side, what should an Indian cyclist do with the traffic or opposite the traffic?
See, cyclists are supposed to be like vehicles, okay, internationally, and we would like to do the same thing because the second you treat them as pedestrians, people don't cycle because you want to have the 20 kilometers per hour speed at some point of time. Like you go from 5 kilometers per hour to 10 to 15 and preferably 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, then cycles become a very good alternative in Indian context where the average trip distance is about 7 kilometers to 10 kilometers, right?
Yeah, and we should facilitate that.
We should facilitate that, absolutely.
And what about pedestrians, sir? What direction?
Pedestrians on a highway should walk always opposite side, okay, so that you are able to see the traffic. So it should always be the opposite side so that you are able to see what is happening rather than they come behind you.
Absolutely. So that's the reason why on roundabouts it can be difficult.
It's also where they are looking, right? It's not just this, because I'm turning, I'm going left, but the vehicles are coming from this side, so I'm turning. Right?
Somewhere, some of the experts must somehow mention it on national forum that even if pedestrian is not right, you still don't have right to touch him with the vehicle.
Absolutely. So the National Urban Transport Policy clearly says cities are for the people. It says priorities for the people. In 2006, it came out first time. 2014, it got amended. 2009, 2010, we used to go to police officers, IAS officers, and everybody and says, forget it. We don't even want to put a footpath because it will get encroached, which was the reality. Even now, it is a reality. But that conversation I don't have anymore. Not a single IAS or IPS officer says that, oh, let's not put a footpath, right? There is a worry about encroachment, and encroachment does happen, but we need to, that's an enforcement issue that should not be going through engineering. Again, this is where I'm saying engineering, education, enforcement, and the safe systems approach, where each of us is a systems manager, okay? Signals started in London sometime, like each of us will have something slightly different. Cleveland, Ohio is what, 1914, and then interconnected in Salt Lake City the first time. The one that interests me is India, right? For us, we are working in India. So it is, if you are from Chennai, be proud, Egmore Junction is the first one in India that has it, okay? Yeah. One I want you to also follow whenever you're looking at it is the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. One of the challenges we have with Indian IRC courses, each one is a small booklet and you don't know which other booklet to look at, right? So almost always we give about 20 booklets ka names. MUTCD is a single book where you can look through everything. So it has payment markings, signals, signs, everything in that. It's a good book to look at. If you are a police officer who's looking at this, I would please request that you can download it online. So just download it and look at it once in a while so that you know. And we don't have to follow it completely, but as of now, because of the Vienna Convention, all the signs and everything, it's the same world over, right? We are following Vienna Convention. So we already are signatory to Vienna Convention. So in Indian context also, it's not like something else. A lot of these are constant, okay? What do signals do? They temporarily separate traffic, right? They are basically in time, they are changing traffic. They are not doing it in, and what do flyovers do? They separate it in physically, right? So please keep in mind, this is the main difference. And the objective is safety and efficiency. Bad design can lead to all these problems that you look at. And good design can, and excessive delays, more violations. And what we do is, the problem is we don't even realize it, right? We don't have, all these are heuristics. These are not optimal solutions. So if you know that I have to achieve only like everybody should go through in that time confidently, you will know what to achieve. Most of the time people think they are doing a good job and they are not even doing a good job. And that's where you need to do some kind of 100, every 1 hour you check it, how many vehicles, what is the queue length. Those are the ways, only way you can figure out whether you're doing a good job or a bad job, okay? And we see a lot of police trying their best, right? Especially when you're sitting at the junction, you're not able to see what is happening at the previous junction. And they're putting their best effort to do the best they could. But they are not able to because they don't really, human beings are not made for this. This 1 million combinations when you talk about signals. A two signal system has about more than 1 million combinations that you can do, okay? So no human being can think of 1 million combinations and do optimization. That's where we want you to also become traffic engineers and look at some of the software and all that. Again, good designs, safety and efficiency, and you are able to create all the things that I said are bad, right? There are signal warrants. India, unfortunately, the signals is the only IRC code that is very, very old. 1983 is when we have. So it's a pretty old code. But there are 5 warrants which are pretty reasonable. So whenever you're trying to think about, hey, I want to put a signal, very often it's a police person who's saying that I want a signal or not. More often than not, mentally, you are actually satisfying these requirements. But the concern is there are other places also that satisfy the requirements and not really putting it. And our biggest challenge is because you have so many two-wheelers and non-peak hour there's less, you can manage it. So in that 1 hour, you can stand in the road and you're somehow managing it, but it's not the sustainable thing. And unfortunately, most of you don't care about your health. Because the first project I went to the police, Hyderabad police, and said, you're standing in the middle of the road, your health is getting so affected, and he said, don't care about my health, talk to me about congestion, okay? So we appreciate your sincerity about that, but I think you should also think about your health, okay? These are the warrants, how it looks. Volume warrants are there, types of warrants, pedestrian warrant is there, accident warrant is there, and a combination warrant is there. I also want to show the US one because there are 9 warrants, which also looks at coordinated signal system, right? Warrant 6, it talks about peak hour volumes, it talks about crash experiences and roadway network. So because sometimes even though the volume doesn't exist, because we want the network and adaptive control system if you're doing, you might want to have signals in other places, okay? I just want you to get an idea, might not apply completely because we have so many two-wheelers, but you can clearly see Toronto, which has only 2.9 million, I think probably, has 2,280 signals, okay? Most of the cities of this size have 50 signals in India, okay? I don't think we are that different. Yeah, we have two-wheelers, we have not as much motorization, but I don't think it is, I think even a city like Bhubaneswar or Bhopal and other things should be about 400 to 500 signals is what I believe. A city like Delhi, which are mega cities, which are crazy, should have a lot more signals. So please look at it because signals do create metering, it creates safety spots for others, okay? Well, it creates its own problems, people don't like it. Somewhere we need to change that narrative, okay?
Yeah, but in the Delhi context, about removing signals, that's been priority for last few years, I would say. And they make a U-turn
So we will have a conversation afterwards, okay? This is there are, so we'll have a conversation afterwards, okay? Because, yeah, I agree with you, but I also know where police are coming from. In the big picture, these are the things where we need to have an understanding, because these create challenges. The U-turns basically ensure that pedestrians can't move. So that is where we're increasing the amount of traffic also. But it's a balancing act. I want you to be clear, okay? It's a complex problem, okay? It is not a simple problem, it's a complex problem. Road safety is a complex problem, traffic engineering is a complex problem. And we need to respect it like that, and we cannot do ad hoc solutions, and we need to somewhere have this conversation so that all of us are on the same page, okay? That's the important part.
Just one question. Is there any criteria for taking a call to signalize or de-signalize an intersection? You can throw some
Sir,
light.
I will give you an example. There
Sir, please.
there is a basically signal manufacturers lobby who ensure that maximum junction are good signal. Whereas without signal you can operate. And without signal you can manage in a better way. Like many of them have gone in Delhi area. Dwarka has a very wide road. But we have earlier, they have put in signal everywhere. If you cross Dwarka, you will take at least 40 minutes to cross from sector 1 to sector 2. Whereas it can be made roundabout. Just for your example for you, sir, because you can make one road one way and make a ring road. But this is the lobby.
Actually, I beg to differ, but we will have a separate conversation. Police do believe it, and the biggest reason is there is only a 1 hour period where all this become terrible, right? And that 1 hour extends to, like, generally we say, right, the only reason I have a job is there's a 5 minutes of congestion, because of which we have a few thousand people, like in US, about a few lakh people who have jobs, okay? So we are happy about the 5 minutes of congestion, okay? Some of these things help because people are able to maneuver and get out, because we have such a high percentage of two-wheelers. Delhi has bigger problems because one of the few cities in India which has a higher percentage of cars, because the maneuvering is not easy, right? So when they get into congestion, Mumbai has the same problem, right? When they get into that problem, it takes longer for it to fix, okay? But conversations-wise, yeah, signal people, yes, they would want to, but that's where the warrants come into picture, and we can agree on the warrants rather than, because even now it's a perception of yours versus my perception. We need to create standards where all of us agree on certain things and then move forward, okay? One of the few things is when you look at signal optimization, operations and stuff, person throughput, walking, person delay, now the focus has changed completely, and we should also change, okay? We actually have an advantage over other countries. Other countries did lots of stupid things and then trying to come back to person delay. We started with this. We are a sustainable city. We are a sustainable country. So we are trying to do things that others already realize they are stupid, and we are trying to follow their lead, which I don't think we need to do. It's like the mobile phone, right? We jumped everybody. Like technology came in US and stuff. Most of the things we can do everything that they do. You talk about movie animations, we do the same quality movie animations that the Western world does. We don't have to do this also. We don't need to go the same cycle. We don't have to follow all the mistakes they did and do it. Some mistakes, yes, we can follow, but we do know what is right and what is wrong. And accidents is a big issue, right? Human life is a bigger issue than mobility, okay? Right. Just so that, especially for the students, I just want you to be aware, green split, cycle, and the things that when you talk about signal optimization, be it higher level technology or lower level technology, it is the green split, cycle length. So this is how the green split looks. So when you have 4 phases each of the stages, and this is not the greatest thing, but yeah, green split is the time that it includes the amber time and the all red time. Cycle length is the complete time with all of them. Phasing sequences, if you see here 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can change it to 1, 2, 4, 3, and you can see efficiencies. Phasing sequence is the one where you can create a lot of efficiencies. And then the last one is offset. Okay, these are the 4 parameters that we look at. Offset is the time that it takes from one signal to other. And when you are doing this, you need to also consider queue clearance time. And what you see is it's a one-way here, right? The second it is two-way, it becomes very, very complicated. That's my PhD, okay? There are a few hundred PhDs on that. How do you optimize on this?
In fact, I have been given an assignment for ITMS of Delhi. I have prepared a DPR. I have gone around a roundabout solution to the signaling. Hyderabad, and even they have gone me for Korea and France. But I find that roundabout which is in Delhi has no solution. I have gone to Tribune Chowk of Chandigarh. They have the adaptive signaling. But there also, at peak hour, it doesn't work.
Yes.
Can you please give the solution for roundabout how you are I have adopted you in my committee.
So we can sit together. I am part of couple of committees, including the Prime Minister's committee in this one. So this is my area. I'll be happy to. And recently also somebody from Delhi asked me to be. You have contacted. Acha, okay. We should talk more because see, as I said, it's not. There are conditions, right? There are foundation layers on which you can build. Like traffic engineering is about having that foundation layers. Internationally, I have that foundation very well set. Priorities are known, these are known, control is known. Then I'm building on top of it. Then also it's complicated. In India, what is required is like no foundation is there. You say build something, it's very, very difficult. Okay. But, I can talk to you about what are the roundabouts, what are the features of roundabouts, the deflection angles, the yield signs. Most of them don't exist. Okay. You need to have priority of people inside the roundabout above people who are getting into the roundabout. When both of them come at the same time, and you need to follow lanes. Lane discipline is extremely important. Even if it's a two-wheeler, they need to follow the same path, right? And then keep on changing lanes in a where you're doing gap acceptance behaviors. So the big difference when you talk about it, right? There are two kinds of, I just want you to all remember this. There are few behaviors. One is regular behaviors, where if you're doing a lane change, you actually look for a gap, front gap and back gap, and you do change lanes, right? The second one is the gap doesn't exist, but you're forcing your way. That is the forced behaviors. The third one is you are showing your intent to do, so the guy behind slows down a little bit, the guy in front speeds up a little bit, creates a space for you. That is cooperative behaviors, okay? Internationally, we talk about all these three behaviors. Most of the time, the first behavior is what works 90% of the time, right? Then cooperation works the other percent. Very, very few times forced behaviors come into picture. When you look at our Indian roads, almost all of us are forced behaviors, right? When you don't have a gap, we are forcing our way and we're getting in, okay? At that point of time, the conversation is very different, right? And that conversations, none of us really have solutions. To be honest with you, like if everybody is forcing and there are times when they force, even if there is no gap, they're forcing their way. When there is no priority, they don't have the right of way, they still are forcing their way. How do you model that? Because I can't tell you as an expert. I model it and tell you, right? I give you different scenarios and say scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. This third scenario is working better than this in terms of delay. This second scenario is working in terms of percent delay, something like that. And then a policy maker like you takes a decision saying that I want to try out second scenario. Okay. But we model and do it. In Indian context, you say, hey, what nonsense is he talking, right? And so I don't have a good answer.
Which is best, roundabout or a signal?
Depends on the scenario. There is a traffic limitation for roundabouts.
Roundabout make indiscipline with the drivers.
See, most of our problems come where we say, I don't want to fix this indiscipline of drivers. If you can't fix the indiscipline of drivers, we will always have this problem. Somewhere we need to say that I am going to fix the indiscipline cycles. What can I do to fix that? Somewhere we need to start moving towards saying that a problem hai, I want to fix it. Rather than a problem hai, so I'll do 100 things to make sure that this problem doesn't exist, right? And that is the request I have. But these are the 4 parameters, cycle length, offset and all that. I just want you to notice, this is from Hyderabad. Anybody from Hyderabad here? I wanted to say cycle length and other things you can figure out, right? This phase started, so it completes all 3 of them. So second phase is going on now. So it started from this phase. So that is a split. So this, whenever this ends, is a split. Then the third phase is coming on. I also want you to notice the pedestrians, okay?
But they are not started enough. So they have placed everything because
So I was the director for that project before I moved to IIT Delhi. So I know the project.
gone there.
I know.
It is idle. They are not using at all.
That's.
How we just waste.
I can see these are perceptions again. I can talk to you more. I can have the team talk to you separately on, but that is the challenge. But what I want you to notice here is the pedestrians, okay? See, one of the problems we keep running into it is each of us, like if you are not from the project, they say, ye to pura kharab hai. If you are from the project, everything is perfect. Everything is in between, okay? Honestly, everything is in between. We know what are the problems because I was there and only because of frustration of this project, I'm at IIT now, okay? I know this subject inside out. I had a person who knows the subject inside out, who is working on it. We both worked on this project and we are frustrated. So I am at IIT now, okay? Okay.
And Commissioner Anand is trying so hard to, still he wants to improve the.
You should, okay? This is not, there's nothing rocket science about it.
He has been struggling for a long time.
No, but see, the challenges we can talk about it later, but I want you to notice the pedestrians and see that there's no pedestrian crossing behind, okay? So there's no pedestrian crossing, so you're saying all of a sudden walk halfway and get out, okay?
Pedestrian should come before.
The crossing should be all the way, right? People should be, and there should be escapes. If you see this position, the reason I want to bring it up is, if you see this phase, it's a nice phase because from a capacity perspective of vehicles, it's perfect, right? This is 24, 2 hours the day it is going on. There's no break. This one, not just that, but these vehicles, if you see, there is no break, there's no red for these vehicles at all. Because there's no red, naturally pedestrians cannot go through, right? So I just want you to be aware of that. So the lost time and other things, these are all concepts that we can keep talking. I just want you to understand lane discipline, probably not. Let's forget the lane discipline for now. There are lost times for each one of them. India, it doesn't work the same way. We have something called in the highways, Indo-HCM, there are a few things that we are talking about. So if your students are looking at it, please look at the Indo-HCM. We need to keep improving our systems. We cannot just give up on it. So anything that comes, there will always be gaps. Nothing will be perfect. But if we work on it, we can improve to the next level. What we are doing is, we forget everything that we have done before and start over. A lot of conversations we are having today, 15 years back also people had this conversation, probably 20, and a lot of you probably were part of those conversations. At what point will we say that these conversations are over, let's move to the next step of conversations, okay? So there's a capacity, there's a critical lane concept, there's a cycle length, how do you calculate? This is actually my software that I'm proud of. How do you calculate the cycle length? All these are formulas that are there which we don't do in India. I just want you to, because if we start doing traffic engineering, the way we look at these problems will be different, okay? Change intervals, all red time. There is a dilemma zone that we need to take care of it. Otherwise, pedestrian crossing times are important, right? There is actually 3 things that need to go into: walking time, flashing don't work, and solid don't work. Walk time is when a person can get onto the road. Flashing don't work is the time during which he can cross the road, right? But he cannot get onto the road. And solid don't work is the time when it is essentially red for this. So we most of the time have only 2, so we are not really giving them time. Pedestrians, we are never treating them enough as human beings actually. Okay.
More than 80-85% of the traffic crossings, even in Delhi in 2023, are not made for pedestrians.
Not made for pedestrians. That's a fact. But that is because of the environment, okay? It cannot be that, and that's where we are all conversations will change, right? At some point, it will be a tipping point will come. So I've been back in India for 15 years. I lived in US for 14 years. And the energy I have is because I know that we are moving in the right direction. Slowly, very, very slowly sometimes, so frustrating, but we are moving in the right direction, okay? So we are getting there. We'll get there, but should it take so long is a different question, okay? So pedestrian crossing times, there's formulas for that also. How do you do it? Unfortunately, when you do pedestrian times and people don't follow the pedestrian things, you will have a whole green that is wasted, right? Like you will have red for the vehicles, and that's the reason we don't do some of these things. So there's a user expectancy on the pedestrians also. So we need to ensure that the user expectancy is satisfied, so they follow the timings that are given to them, okay? I'll just get to something. So there are modes, okay? This is the only thing I want to talk about quickly. The manual signals, the fixed time signals, actuated and adaptive signals. Manual is when I stand in the middle of the road, and I have done that for Delhi BRT, where I used my hand. The faster I used my hand, more vehicles went through, okay? So I know it is very effective. And now, fortunately, most of us are not doing it. Fixed time signals is where we have pre-timed. Actuated is where we have sensors, but if you look at Hyderabad and stuff, where the police actually use their thing to keep changing, in some ways it's actuated. But it creates a different set of challenges that they don't realize, because they're looking at it and say, okay, I'm controlling it, but they're not realizing that. Fixed time signal, just different timing programs. Because we have some nice videos from Hyderabad, I'm sure you must have seen these videos. So I got them created because it's easy to communicate. So especially for the students, what you can see is there's a green and no vehicles that come through, right? This is the problem. So I was talking to IIT undergrad, and she says, why can't we put sensors? And I'm like, yeah, we all haven't been thought about it for the last 50 years. Teasing her, but I was very proud of the fact that she thought of it, right? All of us, when we were at the road, why can't we put sensors? But for sensors to work, there are other conditions that need to be there, okay? But what you see is the wasted green, and the wasted green is not good, right? So that's the reason we are saying look at 1 hour. Look at 1 hour always, because sometimes what happens is different. So actuated signal is where you actually can see that you are able to improve it. But the problem with actuated signal is, let me do this, fully actuated signal.
This is a problem where VIP formation.
We have a lot of VIP movements, but a lot of the software can take care of it. Okay, actually the CDAC program can do it. It's just that you need to believe in it and learn through like the mistakes. We give up way too soon. Okay, you need to give it at least 1-2 years time and say that I'm going to work with it. And then there's nothing rocket science about any of these things. Okay, and it will work in Indian condition. We can be confident. It will have limitations. It will not work in certain conditions. In the next generation, we can improve it. That's my request. Okay. is that, yeah, there will be like, generally what happens is police want about 10 things. The thing can do about 7 to 8 things. They'll focus on the other 2 things or 3 things and say this is a useless software. And even if I'm convincing the first person, the next person who comes in says the same thing, and that's where most of my projects are going. But if you give that time, not only can you fix these 7 things, and you can, in the next 2 years or 3 years, if you give them money and other things, you can fix the other things. And then we can add 2 more things, okay? But we need to have that patience. We need to develop that patience. What you see in this scenario is that when the green goes off, immediately there's a gap time. This is the 5th parameter. You saw 4 parameters. The 5th parameter in a sensors is basically gap time. And it uses the gap time to take out the signal, right? So you are more efficient, okay? But the problem with this is it's not talking to other intersections, right? So the problem is you go through one intersection perfectly, each intersection is optimal at its level, but next intersection you might have to stop a lot. But please remember, signal optimization, whenever we talk about it, is we are not really trying to optimize signal synchronization. Okay? It's very difficult. We are mostly trying to reduce the delays, number of stops and delays, a combination of that. Because if you do only one of them, you might be able to go through 3 signals or 4 signals without stopping. 5th signal, you are stopping for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, okay? And sometimes even that you can't achieve because there are various other parameters when you come to signal synchronization, including the green time. And the last one is the adaptive signal. This is the ideal situation. We show it because it's more effective. But in this scenario, you are able to get green through and through, and you are able to get through, right, in multiple signals, and this is what you want. But after every 4 signals also, you still want to give a red because what you have is something called a platoon. You are getting this platoon through multiple intersections, and as they go, they disperse, okay? So I have to stop. So these are all like phasing sequence and stuff, so which we don't use. I just want to, last 2 slides, okay? So the key ADCS algorithms are Scoot, SCATs, Cosicosh, Itaka, like that. The Scoots and SCATs are the most important things that you should know. Once you know Scoot and SCATs, you know almost all the software, okay? There's some combination of these, okay? Scoot, basically what it does is, this is something very, you can think about it. The signal is here, but people know already that this signal system knows that, okay, I have a detector here. This is how the vehicles cross the detector. So when it comes here, this is how the vehicle stream will look. So I need to ensure that my green split, everything is changed so that I take the maximum number of vehicles from this to take care of it. So the biggest problem with this is you need to have a connectivity between here and here. And anybody is confident that we don't dig up our roads, we dig up our roads, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges we have with Scoot systems, okay? But then the SCAT system is where it actually looking at the volume density functions, okay? Something like this, it says, hey, what is the density that is occupied? So SCATs, like the Cosicosh initially started with Scoot, now it moved to SCATs mostly. It does a combination of both, but it's looking at the junction itself, so the sensor is only at the junction, but there are challenges there also, and that is the one that I want you to talk about, okay? Cosicosh is sort of based on SCATs and stuff. It's a combination of Scoot and SCAT, but it's more based on SCATs than Scoot. Okay. So they have taken some from Scoot, but the biggest thing is it is at the junction, it's looking at the volume density functions. So it is more closer to SCATs than Scoot, the Australian software. Okay. Okay. Hardware components, signals, everything has challenges. Countdown timers, generally traffic engineering wise, you will not see it worldwide. In India, we love countdown timers, even as users. So at some point of time, we are trying to figure out how to incorporate, but it's not as efficient as a good adaptive control system. The second you put countdown timers, it is not completely real time, okay? It is 1 cycle behind or something like that, which might or might not be accurate. Thank you. I think I went over, but yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah.
One suggestion, please. Dr. Vijay, it was a very interesting, very engaging presentation, very knowledgeable too.
Thank you.
One of the best among presentations here. Regarding the traffic signals, the vehicles stopping on the pedestrian crossing is a huge problem, right? So I have seen in Germany and many other countries a very unique concept that the traffic signal is only at where the zebra crossing is, not at the far end, because it is on just near the zebra crossing. So the vehicles are forced to stay beyond the zebra crossing. So if this could be implemented in India, I have been talking about it for the last 15 years in different forums. If it could be implemented in India, it would reduce
I'll tell you my experience, okay?
Yes.
So this is a secondary signal, right? So you're talking about this is a primary and a secondary. In India, wherever the secondary fails, essentially what you're saying happens, okay? And what we have seen in Indore and stuff, we were doing a project at that point of time, like a pilot and stuff. people still go there and start violating, and it becomes more of a safety. Like for us who are implementing, it's a bigger safety concern. So we, at some point of time, we are trying to do engineering to take care of enforcement again. Okay, it's nice to have redundancy in Indian context, especially where we have power surges and stuff that are again not in our control. Hyderabad has so much power surges. Okay, the kind of stuff we had to deal with in Hyderabad for power surges is crazy. Like it's never at 220 volt. Okay, it's always at 245, 250, 260 volts. And then you're saying that all your equipment, you change it because we cannot control your power surge. But given that, one of the signals can always go off, one of the LEDs can go off. So doing this creates other challenges. I would say again, what we have is a good process, right? Generally on the far side, even when US and stuff where you have a single pole, you for each and every lane you have it, you would have it on the far side because it's more visible and it's like clear, more people can see it and all that. And even if you end up going by mistake a little forward, it doesn't create problems. So it's not necessary that people do it on purpose. They can also do it by mistake, right? And user expectancy is all set. We have standards, right? Any change that we do, let's change in IRC code. If you say prove it and let's do it. Like I request all of you to do pilots somewhere, okay? But whatever works, let's do it. Don't do it across the city. Let's get into IRC code and then do across the country. Okay? That way we are all on the same page. That's the major thing that we need to do is we need to get all on the same page. One of the biggest problem we keep running into it is every person has their perception and we cannot, like traffic is something, if you talk to, I love traffic because I can talk to a 5-year-old to a 100-year-old, right? Rickshawala to Prime Minister. Everybody talks about traffic. I love it because of that. There are people who hate it who are experts because say that everybody gets into our area, they act as though experts, right? Everybody thinks they're an expert because they know more. It also creates challenges both ways. But our reality is, let's test it, let's get into the IRC codes because we want standardization. It's high time we had standardization. Our single biggest problem right now is we don't have standards for all of these things.
For this, you have to put 2 poles, one in the center, one in the left. So for the other, now there
we
are
can
4
talk a lot.
poles.
See, I have consultancy experience, I have system integration experience, I have theoretical experience, all that. So I can tell you each and everything what problems exist. Okay, there are no good answers. Okay, I know where you're coming from, but yes, sir.
जी मेरा नाम पुदुमई बालकृष्णन आई एम अपॉइंटेड एज पर द सुप्रीम कोर्ट गाइडलाइंस supporting Sri Vijay Shankar ji, I wish to highlight only one point, sir. Same rasta, I am driving the car. The officer next to me is driving the two-wheeler. I can look at this officer's face and this officer can look at my face. This officer is driving the heavy truck. Me and this officer cannot look at this heavy truck driver's face. And similarly, he also cannot look at me and this officer. This is the problem. So this is the problem, but people unnecessarily blaming the heavy truck driver. Absolutely. And while overtaking the heavy truck, there is a safe overtaking distance. People do not know. And another thing, from yesterday, there was lot of deliberations, very good presentations, but the presenters or the people who are asking questions don't talk about dadagiri in the road. Heavy vehicle driver unnecessarily
getting killed.
Beaten with dadagiri.
So I'll tell you my opinion.
And ambulance driver and fire engine driver, dhanyavad ji, bahut dhanyavad.
So I'll tell you my thought process. This is where I totally agree with you. And one of the challenges police have, because we work with police everywhere, right? In Gujarat and stuff, one of my first projects, they say that heavy vehicle drivers have a higher chance of having, the bigger vehicle, whatever is the bigger vehicle has a higher chance of having insurance.
They occupy more space in the road.
No, they're not talking about that. They're saying that they have a higher chance of having insurance, while the guy who died has poor guy, so it helps. But it's not a good reason. Okay, it's high time we talked about accident investigations and blame the correct way, because only then we can solve the safety problem, right? In all the FIRs, you clearly can see that it is the smaller vehicle that did something stupid, right? Loss of physics, they come in front of the truck cannot stop. I have a very good accident from Vijayawada where the truck is just coming down, speed limit, everything. This two-wheeler basically crosses, doesn't go into the nearest lane, it goes in front of the truck. And the truck has no chance, he is not expecting him to come in front of him. He cannot brake at that point of time because the laws of physics, the mass versus this one that you are talking about, the basic physics doesn't work. So we need to start changing that. Okay, absolutely we need to start changing that. We also need to have speed limits that are sensible. If you are saying 20 kilometers difference, 30 kilometers per hour difference between the other vehicles and trucks, speed difference creates accidents too. Okay, Because the truck is going slower, people are coming and then they are changing lanes all of a sudden and they see a parked vehicle and hit that. That is also creating accidents. Okay. So from that perspective also, we need to really start looking at it. I am completely with you. But there we need data. The more data we have, so we request everybody to collect data, start sharing data and talk in terms of data, because whatever perceptions you have can be proved or disproved only through data. Okay. So these are again my perceptions. I've seen 2 accidents and I'm basing my interest on those 2 accidents, which is not the right way to do it, right? You need to look at a huge set of accidents, and at Trip Center we do that. We look at all the FIRs, we are trying to read through the FIRs. So if you see Professor Tiwari's work and Rahul Goyal's work, they're looking through each and every and reading it again. A few things, especially in the first one, the lady made a mistake. We are under-reporting our accidents. That's the problem. Our accidents are not low, right? Our crashes are not low. Even fatal accidents we are under-reporting, okay? We should not be under-reporting. And we know confidently they are under-reporting because we do household surveys, and in that they say, Mera bacha has died in an accident. So you create that and you're figuring it out.
But this is how I educated people. How I educate people more than 23 years.
Okay. Any others? Or okay, we can talk later. Okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, and sorry for the glitches.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Sri Amit Atut, Assistant Director, to present mementos to the guest speakers, please. Sri Vijay Kovali, sir. Deepak Bali, sir, please. Vijay, sir, please. Thank you very much, sir. We are running late by 14 minutes. So I request you all to please have your lunch and assemble here at 2:25 so that we can start sharply at 2:30.